This is Pat Salber with Health Innovation Media, broadcasting from HiMSS14 at the Orlando Convention Center. And I have with me today a really interesting guy, Keith Boone, who has, I'm not sure if it's a formal title, but a very interesting job description. He's the standards geek at GE Healthcare. Did I get that right?
You absolutely did get that right, and that is the title on my business card.
So we invited you here today because you are one of the authors in a great new book, and I think you have it with you, the mHealth Innovation, which is a HiMSS publication. And you've written the chapter on, no surprise, standards, but it's standards for mobile IT. So what is that? What are standards for mobile IT? Why should we care about it?
So the interesting thing about mobile health is that you're dealing with a lot of small devices. They don't have a big screen. They don't necessarily have a lot of computing power. They don't have a lot of the same software like your enterprise class backroom servers will. And so you need a different set of standards to use with those sorts of devices to communicate back to home base. And then you also have to work with the telecommunication standards alongside that to make all of those pieces work together.
So give me an example of a standard. What is a certain type of standard?
So example of a standard would be something called, from HL7, called Fast Healthcare Information Resources or Interoperability Resources, otherwise known as FHIR. And this is
I knew there would be some acronyms.
Yeah. So this is a standard that is designed to actually make it easy for implementers to develop and integrate their systems with health IT, but it's also designed to have low footprint, very low overhead in the way that it accesses it, and that fits very well with mobile capabilities.
So if I'm a new developer and I have an idea for an app, do I have to understand all these standards?
So I would say yes, that would be the best way to go. Many developers just go ahead and build their apps and they don't think about the standards. I have a tablet computer and I have 7 different apps on that tablet computer. One keeps track of my blood pressure, another my weight, another supposedly I can keep my PHR in it. Guess what? None of them talk to each other.
Is that because they don't have the same standards?
That's because they're not using any standards at all.
Oh, okay. So you're actually on the frontier of this effort.
Right, trying to standardize the work so that the different applications can actually talk to each other. And you're building, instead of an ecosystem for selling a whole bunch of apps, more a platform where people can actually start putting apps together on their devices to do interesting and innovative things like we do now on our desktops and laptop computers, where we've got a whole bunch of pieces that we're actually putting together on that platform. So turning the mobile health device into a platform for health instead of just a collection of apps that don't talk.
So tell me, Keith, how are we going to get to these common standards if a company as big as Aetna has its own proprietary approach, and I'm sure there are other companies, perhaps Qualcomm, that has this two-net device, that they have their own proprietary standards. How are you going to get all these great big companies on board?
Well, and you forgot to mention Apple, that's apparently going to enter into the fray with their whole ecosystem. I think part of the challenge is that what these companies are going to start to discover is that consumers don't want to be locked in to any one thing.
They haven't gotten that message yet?
No, they haven't. So the consumers don't want to be locked in, and they want to be able to do interesting and innovative things. And so there are companies out there who are using standards, who are doing things on mobile with standards. And as those companies begin to succeed, the others are going to realize, hey, this is something I need to be doing too.
Is there an organization, a convening body, some organization that's trying to get everybody on board, or you think the marketplace is going to drive it?
So one of the things that happened last year was that HL7 actually formed a mobile health work group. And so I'm actually on the board at HL7. The idea behind the formation of that work group was to start getting some of that industry coordination around mobile health. and be able to take advantage of some of the work that they're doing with standards like FHIR. And then also working with other groups. I believe HiMSS has got some serious activity going on the mHealth side. Of course, that's part of how the book came about. And so getting tighter relationships across industry in that standard space so that we can develop a consensus around how to make these things work together.
Okay, well, thank you for translating Geek Talk into something that I could understand. That's great. And I'm looking forward to reading your chapter so I can learn even more. Why don't we close by having you say, where can people get this book? Is it on Amazon?
So you can get this book from HiMSS. So if you go to the HiMSS website, they actually have a bookstore there. And then I haven't actually checked yet because it just became available this week at HiMSS. So I imagine that it will be available through other sources.
Okay. Congratulations, hot off the press. I think we're the first ones to get a chance to talk to you about standards in mobile IT based on what you've written in the book. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Pat.